Hello, Thierry. Vanakkam. Thank you for having me on your channel. I love Heroic Sport. I love all your products. And soon, someday, we'll get to train together as well, okay?
I hope so, yes.
So before we start, I'd like to express my respect and my gratitude to my guru, Dr. Jothi Senthil Kannan, from Jothi Silambam Kshatriya Gurukulam and there you go. I've got it there as well, the book. From Pondicherry, India. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So let's start. It's over to you.
Super. Well, today we're talking Indian clubs and more specifically Karlakattai with Karthik Vilwanathan. So Karthik, thanks for receiving the invite and accepting to be here. So just to start off, can you tell us where you're based? What do you do for a living?
Okay. So I'm based in the UK, in England. In a city called Chelmsford in Essex. For a living, I'm an engineer by degree.
Yes.
I'm an engineering manager, and I work at Ford Motor Company in Essex, in a place called Dunton. It's a research and development site. Yeah. So we basically design cars. So that's what I do for a living. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any background in sports, like sports you played when you were young and stuff like that?
Yeah, I did. I did quite a few, actually. I've always been a very outdoor person.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily a very healthy person. I'll get to that. A very outdoor person. I've always played sports. So basketball, I played basketball when I was young in school. I played for my school, the state, lots of clubs. And I played table tennis. And then when that got a little I would say monotonous and mundane, I started, when you get to 16, 17, I got drawn into the gym life, so all I did was weights and gyms and I was living in the gym for a long time. I got bulked up really big. Again, I'll stress, I wouldn't call that healthy, but that's what I was when I was 16, 17. And then I got drawn into rugby because one of my friends used to play rugby. It's not a very common sport in India. It's catching up. Just to let you know, I was born and brought up and grew up in India and then came over to the UK to study and then work. And I live here. I've been here for the last 13 to 14 years.
Okay, so how old were you when you came to the UK? Because that was one of my questions.
I was 20-something, 22, 23. I'm 38 now. So, I'll be 38 in November. So, yeah, it's been a long time.
Okay, so while we're on the subjects, how prevalent or how visible was the Karlakattai or the training with mudars and all that at the time you were growing up in India?
I would say we used to see the use of, the term Karlakattai is not uncommon, at least for the Tamil people. The Tamil people, it's a very household thing. Everybody knows what a Karlakattai is. I think I'm sure they do because it's something that they would use. Now, even if it is, if it was just common colloquial way of talking, they would say, it looks like a Karlakattai. Oh, that thing out. They would use it. So it's a known term.
Mm-hmm.
But I grew up in a place called Bangalore, which is not in Tamil Nadu. It's in a state called Karnataka, and there are a lot of Tamil people there, and my mother tongue is Tamil, so my ancestors are from Tamil Nadu. So it is a term I knew. So when the main exposure for us was from the movies and cinemas. So you'd see your action heroes or your heroes on screen using a Karlakattai to exercise and build their body. So so that was the exposure. And for me in particular, my uncle was a bodybuilder, and I used to see him work out, and I've seen him use it. It's a distant memory. I've seen him use it. It stuck in my head, but I've never touched and felt it because I was quite young. And after that, I haven't actually seen him use it growing up. When my teens, I didn't see him do it, and he got very sick, and unfortunately, bless his soul, he died of cancer. So. I've seen that, but if I talk to my friends in general in school, they probably wouldn't know because Bangalore is a very cosmopolitan city,
Okay.
And there are lots of pictures, lots of people in there, and they probably know different cultures. So just to let you know, I know 7 to 8 different languages, and knowing up and knowing different cultures, you don't particularly talk about little things about your culture, you know. So it is known, but not that well known when I'm
Yes.
growing up, let's say. Yeah. So what was more influential to us was the Western culture. So that's why I said I was drawn to
Into
the
the
gym like
bodybuilding.
anything. So, you know, I was like, yeah, I want to do weights. I want to be, the only thing that you want at that age, I want a six pack. I don't know why. I want a six pack, or I want big muscles, you know? So the Western culture drew me in a lot. And then, like I said, I played a lot of rugby because I had, I was introduced by a friend, and there was a lot of expats from the UK there, and you know, so rugby got on very well. I played there for a while, and then one of the main reasons why I sort of at that point chose to come to the UK is to get some exposure to rugby. As one of the reasons, you know, one of the reasons. So I went to University of Huddersfield up north in the UK, and I played for the university as well. So rugby did play a little bit of influence, but yeah, up until recently, no, I actually didn't hold a karklakattai in my hand and do anything with it.
Okay, so next question is it's something basically you rediscovered as an adult. So how old were you? When? How did you start swinging the clubs? Who and where did you learn?
Right, a lot of questions. So I'll start from that's from the beginning. So so when? So for me, I'll start with a little bit of how. Okay.
Yep.
So earlier, like I said, so I used to do a lot of fitness routines and things in the gym, and then when I had my my 2 kids, I couldn't leave my wife, you know, and kids and go out. So I set up my gym at home.
Very convenient, yeah.
And then very convenient and you. So the one thing that I did well, which I forgot to mention, I did martial arts quite a bit. I got drawn. So I learned martial arts for a few years. I did boxing, Jeet Kune Do, Kali, a little bit of Wing Chun. So I'm yet to go back and complete a few things. So, but yeah, I did a lot of that, and I used to practice in my gym itself. I'm trying to keep fit. Again, I think just about 3+ years. I think 3.5 years ago, after my my baby girl was born, my oldest. I think it was a photo that we took in Malaysia that made me look that big, you know, all big, you know, really dad bod. That, you know, I was, so I started training again. So I thought, okay, I need to get back into fitness. I need to get back into doing things, and I started working out regularly. But what I noticed while I was doing that, yes, I was following a few things, you know, with nutrition and working out and routines and things. I was getting leaner, and my focus was only to get leaner and a bit fitter as well and health. But what happened was, walking out of my gym, I was tired, extremely tired, and that tiredness would continue throughout the day, you know. So what I noticed is I used to eat to fuel for my workouts, if that makes sense. Yeah. So so nutrition was based to fuel my workouts.
Yeah, and then you will be feel drained after it.
That's it. You feel drained after that. So again, I was searching for something else, and it again, you call it a light bulb moment, call it a calling, call it something. It's something that I maybe watched. I can't remember why. I woke up thinking, Karlakattai, why am I not doing that? It's one of those things. So again, not common here. I started researching a lot. I came across my guru as well, but he's obviously in India, and I couldn't, you know, I was very reluctant to reach out to him, thinking, yeah, he's a Kalaimamani award winner. He's quite famous. He's quite well known in his field. He's very respected. And I thought, I'm not going to just drop him. He might get hundreds of emails and things like that with people saying, oh, hello, I saw one of your videos. I want to just learn. So I was reluctant, but I thought I'd start doing experimenting things by myself to see if, first of all, I like this, you know.
So where did you get your first club?
So doing a lot of it, I tried making one, unsuccessful myself. But I thought, so looking for one, knowing I looked up online, I bought one from eBay, which was basically a British Indian club. That was, 2 kilos, probably not even 2 kilos, probably 1.2 kilos, small ones. And I started practicing with that, with the two of them, just some routines that I see online. I've seen Paul's videos and lots of things, some of yours, obviously, things like that. And you start practicing and getting through routines.
Great. Okay. So you didn't start with the Karlakattai style of club swinging, if we can call it that. You just basically saw people swinging clubs and you went along with what you found.
Yeah, that's probably for a month and a half or so. But me personally, I couldn't feel what I was doing. It looked cool on videos. It looked nice. The movements looked different, but I couldn't feel it. So then I came across Persian meals. So again, trying to get something closest to a Karlakattai, Persian meals. So I got hold of one of them from Body Mind Fit. So I got them, the really great clubs, Persian meals, and I started doing with them. And it just, while I was doing that, I sort of, I was again I woke up thinking, right, what's the worst that could happen? Let me drop a note to my now guru and see what he says, if he's willing to take me on as a student and, teach and things like that. And if I can just about try and get hold of an authentic traditional Karlakattai itself.
Yep.
And then the rest, I did that and I got a note back from him and then we started talking and then something that clicked. And since then I've been, in all honesty, I haven't touched the Persian meals and the British clubs after that. It's my life revolves around Karlakattai in terms of training and health and fitness after that.
Well, there seemed to be a lot of focus on the Persian meals because after the British style is usually light clubs, and a lot of people know that. It's still quite alive, even though it's not a great, totally worldwide sport. It's still, the traditions are there. The Persian meals got that launch again, became cool, heavier and all that. But what personally I like about the Karlakattai is all the different types of swings. You're not just restricted, to the back circles, which is mostly what people do with meals and with the joris. Also due to the design of the club and the different designs of the Karlakattais allow you to do different stuff, Cool. So what does club swinging mean for you, as a Tamil and your cultural identity, because now we touched on the different other type of clubs, why the Karlakattai?
So for me, so before it went to cultural identity, it was purely for me to, again, like I said, it was for me to get fit and healthy. The more I got involved with it, the more I started practicing with the Karlakattai, with I'll get to it in a bit when we get to that section of it, when we talk about what Karlakattai training is all about. Before I get to it, it's a lot of it somewhere roots down to Tamil culture and Tamil people and being one of the oldest civilizations in the world and what getting to know more about that. And the encyclopedia for that is my guru. So more you learn, the more you talk, you get a little more connected to an extent. I'll tell you, this is something very interesting that happened. So since I think it's only in the last, say, 6 months, I actually went back to do some research on my ancestry in India. And so everybody moved from Tamil Nadu and came to Bangalore for a living, to find out, obviously we didn't know anything more. So So for my dad's side, I know a little bit more about my mom's side because they did have some records of it. But in India, it's not like here or the Western world where you have written answers. So everybody is, with word of mouth in their memories, and somebody knows somebody who knew,
who remembers something.
Yes. Remembers, So to my dad's side, since most of them moved into Bangalore, so we didn't really know a lot about his ancestor, and to be honest, even my father didn't. So he knew what his sort of great grandfather, up to that extent, yeah. So what I did is trying to find out their names. So in India, a lot of things go by their names. Their professions are identified by their names. What they do for a living identified by their names and surnames, and things like that.
Yep.
Similar to like you have like goldsmith or things like that. So
yeah.
So knowing that and that, so going back and tracing, so I got to my great grandfather. Somehow the name, at least I got a name. And going back, so I was discussing with my guru, my asana, and I gave him the names, and immediately, because he comes from a big lineage of warriors, and by the name he said, warriors, and I said, oh, I didn't know that. He said, it's somehow interconnected. If you believe in those kind of things, it's connected with your DNA, your calling, those kind of things. So I said that's why you're somewhat naturally drawn to a warrior practice as well. So Karlakattai is a very ancient warrior practice.
Yes.
And if you go back in history and see where Karlakattai was predominantly used, apart from being a history where you see gods and warriors using it, was predominantly warriors. They used to train to keep themselves fit and for war and then everyday people and so on. So it was quite interesting. So that way I got quite connected to my culture, and it's quite. I feel quite proud,
Nice.
So in the UK, for example, I'm the only one officially by the International Karlakattai Federation authorized to teach and to teach Karlakattai practice. Yeah, people might swing clubs and call it Karlakattai for
Yep.
But yeah, traditional Karlakattai practice. I'm the only one doing it. So I feel quite happy, quite proud.
Nice.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the things, here at Heroic Sport, we draw on elements from different approaches to club swinging. So we draw stuff from the Karlakattai, elements from the British, elements from the Persian, and I'm sure there are more stuff. Not thinking, I mean, we're not an expert on a specific style. We just, I've got a background as a physical trainer. So I've been training badminton athletes. And I used back in 2010. I was already using clubs to help them. So what is relevant? What can I use, for the people that are buying stuff from Heroic Sport, for example, and which is why it's interesting talking to you, who knows exactly all the background behind the history, the culture, the traditions, the spirituality aspect.
I wouldn't say all, but I know some of it.
Well, at least somebody in English that I can talk to, right?
Yeah, sure.
How much English does Sir Jothi speak?
Very well, very much. He's very well versed in English. We communicate in Tamil most of the time, but yeah, he's very well. He can. So, sometimes, sure, during in the future, I'm sure you can have a direct interview with him, which will be a lot more enlightening as well. Yeah.
So, what have you noticed since you start training in doing the proper Karlakattai approach?
Yeah.
Mentally, spiritually, physically, anything that you can think that will come to your mind.
Okay, so let's start with a little bit of the spiritual aspect of Karlakattai training. Yeah. So spirituality itself is basically the realization that I don't know. That's the start of spirituality. So when you say you don't know, you go and start seeking answers for what you don't know. And also spirituality begins with looking after yourself from the inside and your health. And the road to my health and my fitness and my health started when I met my guru. So he is my spiritual guru, as you can say. And it started with the Karlakattai practice itself. And I say, you know, to start with, the word guru itself means the one who eliminates ignorance and teaches you what you don't know. So the example well, I wouldn't say example. What I can tell you is when I first started learning, because I knew a few swings with Persian males, and I knew a few swings with Indian clubs. I don't know if the right word is arrogance, but I thought, oh yeah, I know a few things. I can swing a few clubs. So that's when I started with my guru, and I said, yeah, I can do this and that. One class with him, everything came down. I thought, okay, I don't know anything, nothing. And that's when I think it clicked and started. So you go in with completely an empty mind, saying, I want to learn. And the more you do, the more you learn. And to an extent, for me, the Karlakattai itself is like a guru. So the more you touch and feel and practice, the more you devote yourself to any sort of practice. It may be Karlakattai, kettlebell swing, anything. Then the more you devote yourself, the more you rediscover yourself, the more you know what your body, your mind wants and capable of as well. So that is the spiritual process, or the beginning of my spiritual process. And I think that's what is a bit of spirituality itself, is knowing yourself. Okay. And it's not just what started off is, okay, it will look cool on Instagram, what, you know, it'll do. I think it moved on to a lot more than just swinging a club. There is a lot more practice involved. Yeah, we'll talk about that in a bit. So for me, that is what happens when I train and practice. I feel a lot more spiritual. That is my spiritual process.
Yeah.
In terms of how sorry, go on.
Just got a question, you know, because here in the West, we are kind of very disconnected from the spiritual side, you know. Do you think that Westerners, you know, don't have, maybe somebody in England that is not born in India would understand that process, that, you know, that slow development? I mean, I can see it, you know, everybody just wants to start swinging. For example, I talked to Tom Cruddington from Body Development. I don't know if you know the guy.
I know. Through, yeah. He's very
good, at the Body Power Expo a couple of years ago, and he learned from an Iranian coach, you know, and he said basically he didn't touch the meals for 2 years.
Yeah, the same.
And he really wanted to, you know, but no, you don't. This is not where you start. And he says, I don't know anybody today who would wait 2 years before being allowed to touch a club. I mean, anybody can have access to clubs now, and YouTube and everything. Everyone can just start picking up, you know, an experiment. So that process.
Right. You hit it. You hit the nail on the head. So, you know, talking from my experience, that's how, you know, like I said, that's how I started. I got all of the club. I thought, oh, yeah, I can swing. But I think the first thing my guru said is put that down. Don't touch it. I would say, you know, if you translate it in Tamil, what he said was, you're not worthy of touching it yet. You need to build. So it's not so much to the spiritual aspect of it. It is, you know, a very scientific way as well of saying you need to develop your breathing. You need to develop your body. You need to develop your mind, and then when you touch it, and when you start, I don't like to use the word swing, but that's what the West is when you start rotating, because swinging is just, I would say almost somewhat two-dimensional sort of movement. You know, this rotates in all different ways and different kinds of, so rotations, let's call it, yeah. When you start doing it, there is a lot more clarity in your mind. There's a lot more openness to learn how to get feedback from your Karlakattai. There's a lot more openness to know, okay, this is what I need to do more. This is what you know, how you breathe out and breathe in. There's so much science behind it. I didn't realize that how much more you can do knowing breathing techniques. You know, you can talk about breathing techniques a little later on, and a little more about what Karlakattai, it's not just about swinging clubs,
Yep.
I can get to that.
Which is what it is here in the West. I mean, even for
Yeah.
me, although now I've got, let's say that, the more I do it, and I've been doing this for like over 10 years now, it becomes a kind of meditation.
Yeah.
You start to tune in and go with the flow and not really think, oh, I'm getting this out of that. I'm just doing it. I'm getting the joy out of swinging the clubs.
Exactly.
I can go with that. And one of the interesting thing is, I've had comments saying that what I do is not traditional or whatever, but actually, since I've got the book there, I can see a lot of the swings that I've been doing that have been called not traditional, whatever, is actually in there. I thought, oh, I made that up myself. Well, no, that was already used.
It's a very interesting point that you make there. Yeah. So so thousands of years ago, when these things have been passed on by generations and by gurus and the Gurukulam culture and all that, and down to my guru's great grandfather and his ancestry, they were all gurus. They were the ones who used to teach warriors. So knowing that, so obviously he's written this book with all the knowledge that he's got from different gurus when he's been learning different forms of even Indian martial arts and body development and training in Karlakattai. So every time I think, sometimes when I do freehand and I practice, and I say, oh, that feels good, my body, my body, and I'll think I've invented something. But when you actually go back, it's there. Yeah, so every possible type of movement that you can do with your body is documented. It's there.
Yes.
It's very, very interesting for me. So it's fascinating that they've done that thousands of years ago.
Exactly. I mean, and back then it was for weapons practice, but I found the relevance. Like I said, when I was teaching badminton athletes, some of the swings, well, yeah, they were probably designed for swords, but they also work for badminton or whatever. That's really interesting.
Yeah. There's one more thing that I just remember while you just asked me about how I feel. When you said that, I spoke a little bit about the spiritual aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
The other side of it, which I definitely have to mention, is I think I told you a little earlier, when I used to train bodybuilding and do other things, I used to eat to fuel my workouts.
Mm-hmm.
But with Karlakattai practice, the Karlakattai practice fuels the rest of my day, if that makes sense. Yeah, so
energizes you.
So it completely energizes me. So I wake up at 3:30 in the morning every day.
Whoa.
Yeah, and sometimes 3, and I practice for an hour, little more, and sometimes in the evenings as well. So, but everyday practice. Sunday, sometimes I want to take a break, but the Karlakattai doesn't leave me. It doesn't let me take a break sometimes. At least I have to come. If not for the Karlakattai, it's at least a practice for me to move my body. So it energizes me. So walking out of my gym or if I'm doing an outdoor exercise or outdoor work, walking out, I feel energized. I feel that energy lasts throughout the day. Obviously, with the practice, you have to be conscious about your nutrition, what you eat, how you eat, how you, even before you start practice, how you drink water and, warm water before and so on. But regardless of that, there's energy. So because a lot of breathing exercises that you do called Kshatriya Pranayam and the Maypadam and Udal Katupa, all that you do before, it's just, it pumps in oxygen, it pumps in, you feel the tingle, believe me. It just, I'm up and going every time.
I know what you mean. Yes. Last year you did a demonstration of Karlakattai for a Tamil cultural festival. Was it something? Yes. Am I right? Yes. Yeah. How was it received?
Very well. So in Chelmsford we have a group, a sangam, which is basically a group. It's called Chelmsford Tamil Sangam, and I did a performance for it was a gathering or for a festival that we have, Tamil New Year, and I think usually we're a fun-loving people. We always do dance and music and singing. So something different. I said I'll bring something a little more traditional, a little more connected, rooted to our tradition into this. And they said, yeah, wow, great, let's do it. But they didn't really know the depth of what they were about to see. I did do a performance. I say performance, a demonstration. Because Karlakattai is not a performing art. It's just to show a demo about, hey, look, wake up. There is something out there that you all have somewhere genetically connected, and this is a bit of our culture. And it was very, very well received. The best compliment I would say I got for that is there was one of our friends, common friends, their kid who is I think 8 years old, 8 to 10 years old. She sent me a video of him saying, "Was he Superman? Is he like Superman?" And he had his cricket bat and he was doing the swings. And I want to be like, I was a bit like, wow, it was received, and that's the whole point. You need the future generations to start sort of knowing more about this and reaping the benefits of it while doing it. So that was the main reason why I started classes as well.
I mean, kids are great. We've done lots of demonstrations here at outdoor festivals, market days, and this kind of stuff. And adults, they just like, look at what are they doing. But kids, they just come straight up and they grab the clubs and they want to swing, and they have a lot of fun with it.
That's it. My 3-year-old has her own Karlakattai, which is I made it. It's made out of a rolling pin. I cut off one end. Yes. It's just good enough. And she knows it. She will say, "Okay, Appa, let's do." Appa is father in Tamil, and daddy in Tamil. So we say, "Appa, let's do some Karlakattai training." Every now and then, she'll see me and say, "I want to do it." I say, "Oh yeah, what do you do?" Obviously, it's very specific. She's only 3.5, but yeah.
Yeah, great, brilliant. So when you made that demonstration there, did they look at? I mean, was it taken more as entertainment, or do they thought, oh, there's my roots again, that identity, or is it something old-fashioned? I mean, it's nice to look at, or I should do this. Well, can you tell a bit more about that?
General feedback without offending anyone. Because there's always probably a certain group or section of people who would look at it as entertainment. There is, obviously a lot of them who would think, wow, this is where my roots came from, and they feel very connected. They feel emotional with it. Mixed feedback, I would say. So that was the main reason. So because I got a lot of feedback from that, that's when I thought I'll reach out and start teaching our people, because they can understand a little more. When you connect to something, you'd want to learn more about it. When you connect traditionally, culturally, language, you want to hold on to it and learn. So that's when I thought that was the first time I started classes after the feedback that I got from this demonstration. So then I think my students, I've right from that first demonstration, they've come a long way. So mixed feedback, and what my guru always says, my ashram says, is it will reach people who are willing to receive, even in a sort of spiritual way as well. It will reach. So even if it out of a crowd of 100 people, it reaches 10, those 10 are worthy of learning.
Yeah, I mean, there is a saying, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. So
100% for me. So,
there you go. Okay, well, now you've got a nice collection of clubs behind you. Can you tell us a bit more about the different types of Karlakattais? Explain for people who haven't read the book, the starting weight, according to your own body weight, which club you should go, and the progression over time as well.
Yeah. So there are 6 different types of Karlakattais, and one which is specifically for women. So I'll start with the first one, which is called a Kai Karle. Kai in Tamil means hand. So the one that you see here, so this is a Kai Karle, and it's the length of your arm, and that's it. That's and the grip is, there's some specifications for the grip as well. It has to be within the grip of your palm when you hold it. So it shouldn't overlap, and it shouldn't be too wide as well. So some specific dimensions, very scientific.
So all these clubs are basically, from what I can understand, they made according to the practitioner, specifically for him, right?
They are, yes. So even when I choose the clubs to give it to a student to practice, it would be based on his or her, I would say, physical attributes and weight.
Physiognomy. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So that's a Kai Karalai, and that's what you should start with in Karlakattai. That's what starting with the clubs. Before you start touching the clubs itself, there is a lot of exercise. I'll talk about that in a little while.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you start with the Kai Karalai. The maximum weight that you should start with is a person's body weight divided by 8 divided by 2. So for example, if you're 80 kilos of weight, divided by 8 is 10 kilos, divided by 2 is 5. That is what the maximum weight.
Maximum weight, not the recommended weight to start with.
Exactly.
Max.
Believe me, 5 kilos is you think 5 kilos because I have 40 kilo dumbbells down there, and you think 5 kilos.
Oh yeah,
it's not as easy now.
I've talked to a lot of people who start with club bells, for example, and everybody said, well, I bought the 8 kilo, the 12 kilo club bell, and I couldn't use it.
No, you can't. So maximum recommended weight is that person's for a man. Okay, so for a man, it's the person's body weight divided by 8 divided by 2. When you get to, so I'll get to the Padi Karalai and I'll explain that as well.
Yep.
And the Kai Karalai has been used so mainly by for people wielding swords, warrior archers. So it's a complete overall body conditioning tool that you can use. Yeah. So it's not just swing 20, stop, take a rest, swing 20, not the traditional sets that you do as such, with these Karlakattai. So with any of these, you start and you progress. You continuously do a minimum of 108. 108. I don't know. I can talk for an hour for the number 108, but
people can look it up. About
you can Google it, look it up. But 108 is a sacred number. It's a number in terms of this. It's a number signifying change. So you get to that, you build your endurance, you build your stamina, and you get only then you start getting into the flow. You start feeling blood flow, oxygen, everything flowing to your muscles, your lungs, your organs, and all of that. Yeah. So that's what you do. So and you don't just start with any sutru. There is a method of what you start with. What sutru you start. Sutru is swing or rotation in Tamil. And there's a method of what you can start with and how you progress. So even though there are 64 different types of sutru, and if you can see the permutation combinations of them, you can combine them and make up different flows. But you start with one. You always start with A. You start with Ottakai sutru, so the one with one hand only, and then you progress. And there are variations of that Ottakai sutru as well. I've been doing it for years. I still don't know all the Ottakai sutru. There are variations, and every time you do something, it activates something else for organs in your body. Like for example, this morning when I was doing a workout with my master, he said these exercises are for your intestines, and it's like this is for your digestive system, that kind of thing. It's really good. So I digress. So that's the Kai Karalai. Okay.
Yes.
After the Kai Karalai, the other Karlakattai that you see is a Bhuja Karalai. You see it's smaller. It's the same. It's pretty much the length of your forearm. It's that big. The Kai Karalai, the Bhuja Karalai, was used by people who want to build on Bhuja Balam. Bhujam is your hand. Yeah. Balam is strength. And they're heavy. They're made from really high density wood. They're very heavy, and hand-to-hand combat people, boxers, and they were used by them. Obviously, they progressed from the Kai Karalai to the Bhuja Karalai.
So is the Bhuja, that one that we're looking at behind you, that Bhuja Karalai, is it heavier than the Kai Karalai?
Um, this one is almost the same size, same weight.
Same
as
weight.
this.
Okay, so
Yeah? Because
even though it's smaller.
I cannot handle anything heavier. That's why I got it. So when I eventually over the years when I progress, I can.
Yeah.
So just to give you an example, there was when I was in the Gurukulam, my master gave me a Bhuja Karla in second year. So I believe it or not, no, that's just about 5 kilos my Kai Karla, and I can swing with that. The Bhuja Karla, I just could not even do one. Once it is impossible, and you think it does not sit in your head because it's something that small. So yeah, it helps. So mine is almost the same weight as that, but
Okay.
you the feel and feedback from that is completely different.
Yeah, I mean, each club has their own characteristics, depending on the length, the size, the weight distribution, and so on. Yeah.
Yeah. And to be perfectly honest, I personally haven't progressed. I wouldn't consider myself to have progressed to Bhuja Karla and so on. So you need to feel, to know, and your guru should say, right, you can start with this. So I don't feel I'm ready for. I know a few swings. I can do them. I can do it for a demo to show, but no, in terms of a general practice, there's no way I can continuously do thousands of sutras on that. Okay, so that's Bhuja Karla. That is a Toppai Karla. So Toppai in Tamil means, I would say belly. It means belly. So Toppai Karla is, there you can see the shape of it is like a bit like a belly. So it's bigger, a lot wider on the body. And Toppai Karla is used for people who, I would say, as for the professions, people who always are either bending down, squatting, working. So farmers, people doing agriculture, those kind of things. Okay, there are different specific sutras, so they don't put on weight and put on, let's say, fat, and they can have power in their core area while doing, because they have to always squat and do things. So that's Toppai Karla. What you can say, I don't want to lift it up and show. But there's a Kusthi Karla. You can see I'm sitting down, and that's tall enough. So that's a Kusthi Karla. Kusthi Karla is, I would say, comparable to the Joris. Comparable. I wouldn't say exact. I'm not personally felt and swung a Jori, but they're similar.
Yeah, I mean, in length at least, right? Because the design is very different from the Jori.
Yeah. But you can see, look at the girth of the
yes.
So it really, you can only progress. So people who were on elephant backs, so in warriors, who were controlling elephants and who were doing wrestling, obviously Kushti, they were doing wrestling and I would say Malyu, so big hand-to-hand combat, the bigger guys, they used to practice with these, and we can as well. So depending on your sport, depending on your profession, what you want, and you have you have the Pudi Karla, which is this one, and that also has a different shape. So Pudi Karla, Pudi in Tamil means grip or hold. That Karla, it's mainly used to improve a lot on your grip strength. So people who are doing grappling, Pudi Varisai in Tamil is grappling. So I wouldn't say grappling. Yeah, it is. It is. I'm trying to translate. So that kind of sports, and fishermen who need to grip. Anybody who need to
pull the ropes.
Pull, that Karlakattai is used. And apart from that, you have say this. This is a Padi Karla, yeah. So you can see the size of it. That's recommended for women. And the reason why there is a difference, and I don't want to sound sexist or feminine, there is a difference in the size and weights and what women should and shouldn't use. The reason in the old ancient days was when they studied. If you take what is explained to me is the nadis. Nadis are the neuromuscular pathways to your brain and heart are a lot more for women, and they're generally a lot more flexible. And you don't want to, and the joints and tendons are, I would say, genetic, or I would say, are not anatomically made different. So when they practice with that, it is for them to be able to carry out their daily functions with a lot more ease, with when they used to work in the farm and they used to do other things. If women progress to being trainers or warriors, then they would progress to a similar weight of kai karlais and things like that. Yeah. And for women, the weight recommended, the maximum weight recommended, is their body weight divided by 8 divided by 3.
Okay. Yes.
Not by 2. So yeah, I think that's mainly it. Or the types of karlakattai. There is also another one which is a double-handed irtakai karalai, which my guru has designed, which comes. You can do a lot of different types of swings and practices, but I haven't progressed much to start swinging that confidently. I can do a few swings, but not. There's a lot more to that. So I've got that as well.
So out of the 5 kalai for men, do you when you do a practice session,
yeah,
how does it work? Do you work through the 5 different ones, or is you only come to a certain type of karlakattai after a time? You use a specific kala for a specific type of sutru or swing?
Yeah. So so these 5. So if I take a class, for example. These 5 will be there to show the different types of karlakattai. Nobody will touch any of these except for the kai karlai.
Okay.
So you start with only because a lot of them who, for simple example, somebody who wants to, if I start progressing and over a 2-hour session with a break, sometimes if I'm teaching a tol sutru, for example, which is just that rotation, when I've heard my students, when they come to me and say, "Oh, that's light. Are you sure this is good enough for me?" And I said, "Yeah, we'll practice. We'll get to that." We'll progress to 108 and plus, but within 20, they start. It's not. You can't. You need to build up to it.
Totally.
You can't do that in a workshop. You can't progress immediately over a workshop. You learn. So you practice, and over time when I feel ready, when I think, okay, your body, you look like you can handle a few more sutru, a different kind of sutru, then you progress. You don't get to these immediately.
No.
It takes time to progress, years in fact, to progress, to be proficiently able to use them. You can use them. I can swing them. Even a powerful guy or a strong guy can be able to do. You can do it. But I wouldn't say it's recommended. It's not right to do it because you can't do you can't derive the output from it, what it's meant to do.
And that's something that people also discover. I mean, I've been swinging clubs, like I said, for 10 years, and most of my practice is done with relatively light clubs under 5 kilos. Yeah, I play with heavier clubs as well. And I've been to gyms where they got club bells, and I can use 15 kilo, 12, 15 kilos with one arm, but it's not something that I go after. Since I dropped competition from kettlebell sport, I don't have that focus on the strength aspect. I mean, I still want to get stronger and I do stuff, but not with the clubs. It's not something, I don't want to turn it into a competition as well, Like, for example, I've been in Pakistan with the Mangli club, which is basically 60 kilo, 65 kilo club, but they only do 1 or 2 reps. That doesn't really interest me. It becomes like weightlifting or powerlifting. And it's this element of competition is something I totally left behind. I don't want to get into.
I think that's probably your spiritual process as well, as you can say, because when you start realizing you don't want to do this to compete, you want to do this to make yourself better, is when you can explore a lot more, and then you can so the end goal, I would say, or eventually what we want to get to is be fit and healthy throughout the day, throughout our life, till it's our time to go. So that's your end goal, or that's your goal. And competitions, yes, it's good if that's your kind of thing, but I think I'm constantly on a learning mode. I'm not on a competing mode. I'm constantly on a learning mode from the Karlakattai, from my guru, from anything I see. I was like, oh, okay, that's how it is. That's how your body functions. when you stand straight on the ground, and you know, one day you feel something, and the other day you think, oh, that's how the ankle feels. That's, you know, you get feedback from the
become
ground.
become more aware of your body and what's
right.
going on. Yeah, totally. So about that, you know, the barefoot training, you know, like I can see in India, obviously there are, you know, different infrastructure as well. Maybe it's got something to do with it, but you know, at least when I can see the akhadas, when they train, you know, first they dig the sand pit, and then they practice barefoot in the sand. I've been talking to people when doing demonstrations about clubs from you know, that come from India and say, oh yeah, it's something you have to do it barefoot, you know, and rub yourself with oil and all that to get this connection, this grounding as well, you know. So I personally try to train as much barefoot as possible for my own practice. You know, I also recommend for people. Obviously, you know, climates, maybe it's not always possible, but what's your take on training and connecting to the earth?
Yeah, that's one aspect of it. So barefoot training. So one of the main reasons is out of respect. Okay, so it's a respect for your art and Karlakattai. So if you take majority of the practices, the art forms, you know, dances, anything traditional coming from India, they would do it barefoot. Yeah, that is respect to the art and their guru and their guru's guru, and eventually the creator of that art. Okay, so that's one of the main reasons is respect. Apart from other scientific reasons as well, which I can get to in a bit. And if you and Karlakattai is a tool to help condition the temple, which is your body. So you're respecting Karlakattai, your body, and being barefoot. That's one thing. Yeah. So that's one aspect of it. And like you already mentioned, you feel connected. You feel grounded and more earthed. And you can start getting feedback from the ground when you move, right from your toes all the way, up to your leg when you're actually touching the ground. It doesn't have to be
when you
mud.
feel.
Yeah, it doesn't. It can be grass. It can be sand, gym mat. But it should be. You know, you feel more grounded when you're there. Grounded in terms of also your ego. Grounded when you're that's why even in temples and holy places you take your slippers off or shoes off when you go and wash your feet and go in. Similar. I don't wear shoes in my gym. I'm barefoot now as well. So this is sort of my holy place as well. I respect the Karlakattai. Okay.
Great.
In terms of scientifically speaking, I spoke a little bit about nadis. So there are a lot of nadis which are neuromuscular pathways that go from your foot all the way, and they connect all the different chakras and in your body. By training barefoot, you're strengthening these pathways. So I think comparable to what I'm saying, if in the Western world, if people have heard of reflexology, yeah, everything to do with your foot, you know, they can say, oh yeah, they feel your foot and say you got kidney stones, I'll cure it for you. So it's for people who really believe in it. There are pathways that, you know, there is a lot of sensation. There's a lot connected throughout your body, in networks moving up and down to your brain and heart and every organ. And also it helps channel these in the right way. It helps strengthen the muscles and tendons and ligaments around the foot and the ankle. So I think I prefer a lot barefoot training, even when I take classes outside. In terms of weather and temperature, unless it's like extremely wet, and if I'm doing it outside, I wouldn't wear shoes. Otherwise, I prefer barefoot, and I think you get used to it. You just get used to it.
True. I think also maybe one of the things, you know, in the Western culture is that we look at people are afraid of their own feet. You know, they don't like to show their toes and stuff like that. But like you say, you know, it's something that you overcome. Even as a kid, I hated having to wear sandals without socks.
Oh yeah,
it was horrible. It was a traumatic experience. But I love to be barefoot. You know, I mean, there's nothing better than that. go on the grass, all the sand or small pebbles, and just feel, like you said, all this connection. Yeah.
One of my favorite sutras, which is the sutra that made me realize a lot about myself, was the Idamban Sutta. That's the sutra with which I set a world record. I don't know if you
Yes.
were aware of that. I
Yep.
think that's my I would say is something that awoken a lot of, because I spend a lot of time with just myself and the Karlakattai and doing one particular thing. So that's, like you mentioned earlier, my meditation. That was my meditation. Basically, is focusing on one thing at a time, and emptying your mind of things. So that was it is my favorite sutta, Idamban Sutta, and there are a few more. I'll show you in the videos. I'll tell you what they are. So it is one of my favorite, and it works. It works your entire body. And coming out of it, so even after I do a half an hour or 45 minutes with it. I do thousands of sutras with it. I put the Karlakattai down and I do my breathing and my back. I walk out of it more refreshed than when I went in. So you don't feel like, oh, I've done thousands of it. You just feel, right, I'm ready. So yeah, that's.
I mean, I talked to all the people from India, and the Ayurvedic aspect of training, recommendations are you should basically work out to a light sweat on your forehead, and then that's it. Don't train so you're wearing yourself out.
Yeah. So if you're in India, sometimes it's very difficult to not drip because of the temperature and humidity and things like that. Yeah.
I guess.
But what they mean by that is, don't overwork your body.
Yes.
You have to build up to the strength, where to an extent where you think, okay, when you put your equipment down, when you stop, you just feel, right, I am ready. Because the whole idea to work out is to be able to be functional throughout the day. Yeah.
Yes.
Carry out your daily activities, not the opposite. You don't, like I said earlier, I don't want to always fuel myself, protein shakes, everything else, carbs, and
then go around. Oh, sir, I can help you lift that box because I'm sore. I've just been to the gym.
So,
that's also something that if you look at the ancient books on physical culture, that we can talk about, Arthur Saxon and stuff like that. They also mention that, you just train to build the body, not just to wear yourself out and say, "Ooh, today I really killed it in the gym."
Yeah. Even though you want to, so there is a certain, so when you think you're ready, there are times when you think, right, I want to push myself. That's okay.
Yes.
But you don't want to get to a level where you say, God, the worst thing for me is, I have experienced this. When I have a workout, I go into the house and, like you said, my wife says, could you help me with this? And it's, I would say, a little bit of ego thing. I don't want to say, oh, I'm tired.
I've just been working out. Come on, not more.
So, there's something that my wife mentioned as well. And she did say, very sort of jovially or jokingly, so what's the point of working out then? And you think, yes, what's the point of it? Yes. So, and I think, while you're on that, on that topic of saying, building up and working out, I think when I mentioned earlier, we're talking about the Karlakattai, the different stages that you do. The Karlakattai training is not just about swinging clubs. We'll talk about that in a bit when this. Yeah.
Sure. Actually, one of the questions that I have is about the training with Karlakattai. Does it involve other tools or training tools? Do you lift stones? Do you like they do for the Kusthi training? Is there like dams and beteks and all this kind of stuff? Do you have the squats with a nagal, with a stone ring, or is this is like purely different? Because I guess there is a lot of traditional or regional flavors to swinging clubs from what I can see in India. It's a huge country to start off,
So I can't talk much about other cultures. I'm still completely discovering mine. So I'll talk about Karlakattai.
Mm-hmm.
So Karlakattai training itself is not just about, like I said, it's not just about swinging a club or rotating a club around your head and then you say you're done. You don't touch the Karlakattai until your body is ready. And how do you make your body ready? There's a very scientific, specific process that you follow to get your body ready, your mind, your body ready to start actually holding the Karlakattai and start your practice. So you start with lots of breathing techniques, how to get oxygen into your body. Believe it or not, it's a funny thing to say. People have forgotten how to breathe. They do. There's a lot of Western breathing with your chest puffed out. Lots of people with just, the oxygen does not reach every part of your body. A lot of doctors might disagree, but anyway, there's a lot of science behind breathing. So the breathing techniques that we use in Karlakattai is called Kshatriya Pranayam. The Shakti, it's a part of Kshatriya Pranayam. So Shakti in Tamil is energy or power. Riya is to gather. Yeah, so Pranayam is breathing. So you're gathering energy. So you start with Kshatriya Pranayam itself. Yes, there's a lot of breathing techniques and how you can control the air. So when you breathe in, it's only nose breathing. You don't breathe in through your mouth. You breathe in through your nose, and how you can feel the air going right from there right to your belly and down, and then you exhale. So there are lots of breathing techniques that you first learn, and then you do exercises. I would call it for the English term for it, if you can call it, is Maypadam. Yeah. So Maypadam is basically just understanding your body. What does your body? How does your body move? A lot of people cannot move. They can't keep their shoulders up and do things for 10 minutes even. You just drop, regardless of what weights you lift. You can do that for 10 reps. You can do 40 kilos for 10 reps. You can't do that for 10 minutes. So and they can't keep it straight. So understanding your body, that's a lot of thing is to do with that in Maypadam. Then you progress to Udal Kattupadam, which is basically, once you understand your body, you work on it to make it fit. So Udal Kattupadam is making your body fit. Okay. And then after you do so Maypadam is a sort of warm up as well. So you always start with Maypadam, and then you do a bit of Udal Kattupadam, which is basically getting the blood flowing, getting oxygen into your body, understanding your body's limitations, building on that. And then after all of that, you start with your Karlakattai practice. So this is for somebody new who's just come in saying, I want to learn Karlakattai, teach me Karlakattai. I would say, no, don't touch the Karlakattai. You start with this. That's what my guru would say. He would say, no, you don't even touch that. You start with Kshatriya Prana. You learn breathing. It's very interesting to say, you learn breathing. No, I've been doing that from when I was born. No, you haven't. You do it.
Conscious breathing. I guess you should say conscious breathing. Yeah.
Exactly. Conscious breathing.
And actually, I don't know if you've seen it, but we made a video with a French guy. His name is Ngub, and I kept contact with Ngub. He was here in Denmark to visit us and learn about club swinging and all that we do. And then we talked just about the breathing, how he feels as well by doing the different breathing exercise before the practice, energize him. And there's a lot of about the alternate nostril, the five bellow breathing, all this type of techniques. So but that's a great topic. I mean, we could go on and end.
And then to answer your initial question, so I think I spoke a little bit about the training involved for Karlakattai, but no, we don't have anything other than the Karlakattai itself is enough to do so. And everything, you're talking about modern terms like, freehand body exercises, compound exercises, resistance training, even to the extent of intermittent fasting. All of this has been practiced by our ancestors thousands of years ago, and they've all been, they've understood the body. It's only modern times now that we haven't, or we've forgotten, and we're rediscovering now,
Yeah, it's a loop. It's a loop. Okay, well, I think we're going to have to wrap this up pretty much.
Sure.
You mentioned workshops. where can people find you? You know, I'll put some links in the video description as well. But
Okay.
so you can send me that, or you can also name it right now if people want to get in touch.
Yeah, sure. So the first, if you're in the UK or anywhere in Europe, you can get in touch with me on Instagram, Karthik Vilwanathan. Just drop me a DM. We can take it from there. Or you can visit my guru's website, and he will point. If you're in this part of the world, he will point you in my direction anyway. So you can register yourself on his website, which is jothisilambam.com. I'll send you some links that you can put it up.
Yeah, definitely.
Because it's it's difficult. Yeah, there so yeah, exactly.
Okay, we
so
can find the
karklakattai.com. There we go, and jothisilambam.com, and you can get in touch with him, and he will point you in this direction, and we can start from there. So I have done a few workshops already, and I've done regular classes as well here in the UK. There was one class scheduled specifically for women, which was scheduled on the day we went on lockdown, unfortunately. So that didn't happen. But I'll try and catch up and do a Zoom session with an online session with people if they're interested, and we can take it from there.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, I hope that made some clarification, you know, about in the big club swinging community here. Karlakattai, it's on the rise thanks to people like you and Sir Jothi in the publication of his book in English as well. And I think he's got more stuff to come as well, which will be interesting.
Just to mention, our son is writing another book. He's in the process of writing another book, which will focus only on Maypadam and Udalkattupadam and strengthening. So that the one that I mentioned, there's a lot of focus on that. So yeah, watch out for that.
Pre-exercise or the building up to training with
there's a lot of focus on that. So he's writing another book, so watch out for that. I'll put up some links of that as and when it's out. Okay.
Okay, brilliant. Well, Karthik, thanks for your time.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for sharing part of your culture and showing your collection. Wish you all the best, and that at some stage when the lockdowns are lifted and we can travel again, that we'll get to meet and
sure.
together.
Yeah,
right?
Thank you very much.